Yo, what's up, John? How you doing, buddy?
Sully, how about you?
Man, I'm doing good. Episode 32, Guys with Thighs. We're having some fun, and as people can see, we're apart again. And this one almost threw us for a loop again.
Mm-hmm. You literally just did those them different time zones almost got us. I forget where this man is in the world sometimes because he's always traveling.
Yeah, man, I'm in Utah now, so we're on Mountain Time, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna do this at 7 o'clock. And then you're like hitting up, you're like, I'm almost ready. I'm gonna send you the link, and I'm like, wait a minute, it's 6 o'clock here. I was like, oh no, here we go. So communication, we're still working on it. Everybody, I
Of
think, needs to
course.
work on it. So, one of my favorite quotes I learned from the Air Force is the worst part about communication is thinking it took place, right? So, like, I just assumed that you knew that I was in Utah, which means I was in a different time zone. So that's on me for not communicating. I'm an hour behind. It just didn't compute in the moment of tiredness that I was when we planned this out.
Yeah, hey, it's all good, man. Like you said, with it thinking that it got communicated and it did not. That happens to me all the time. And it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't send that text to you. Like I literally have one typed up and didn't hit send. What the heck?
Well, and as like human beings, like we have assumptions because like going throughout our lives, right? Like sometimes like how I assumed you knew I was in Utah because I've been posting about it, things like that. But like, hey, maybe you didn't see my story. Maybe I didn't mention to you in person. So then like I thought like it was just a given you knew I was in Utah, and then it's just like, oh, clearly not.
Hey, we got it though. We still
Yeah,
made
it's
it
good.
happen,
It's
baby.
good. We just adapt and overcome. That's what we do.
Exactly. Hell yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, dude, I think that can apply directly into so many different areas of our lives as well, with just making sure that you're attentive to all the details, making sure that you take care of everything that you can ahead of time.
Yeah, and honestly, being on our adding to our pre-pod checklist, it's going to be like, okay, what time zone are we in? Like, are we in Central Time? Central Time, good. Mountain Time, Central Time, that's an hour. West Coast Central Time, that's 2 hours. We're going to add that to the checklist
Yeah.
for our pre-pod, and yeah, it's like those small, minute details. Those are the things that like make things work, right? So, just getting those all on the same page and like obviously not talking to each other like we're kids and like we're babies, but sometimes spelling it out like, hey, this is where I'm at, this is the time difference, this is how we can execute. Like that's proper communication, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
you can take that
simple.
anywhere, like into your job,
Mhm.
into your career, into your passion, whatever it is. Like making sure that you have all that stuff clear and concise with the parties that you're working with, or hell, even just for yourself. It's really, really important and can lead to success or failure.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, dude. And all I was going to add is simple is sexy. Like the more simple that you keep communication, the better. Don't
Yep.
matter. Like we're both intelligent dudes, but we have to keep our
Well, thank you.
communication very simple to be able to get it clearly communicated to each other. So it doesn't matter like who you're talking to.
Yep.
Simple is always the best because it's like think about in the game of telephone when you start out with a message at the beginning, then it goes through each person, it ends up completely messed up by the end. So the simpler that message is at the beginning of the telephone game, though, the closer it is to the original message by it gets to the end. So
Oh, brother,
uh,
I haven't played
keep it
telephone in
simple.
so long, but that's so true. Like that game is. You hit the nail right on the head there. I mean, like I remember playing telephone and like the messages are just like you said, completely out of left field by the end of it. It's just like, what the hell is going on here? So yeah,
Exactly.
dude, that's a great way to put it. Like, just keep it simple. There's that old adage, like Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. I like to say
Yeah.
keep it simple, smarty, because I don't like calling people stupid, especially myself. I'm
Yeah.
working on that whole positive self-talk thing. Uh, so we're gonna go with keep it simple, smarty, and go from there. But like that's a great adage to have. It's just like keep it simple.
Absolutely, dude. Yeah. Hey, that said simple is sexy. You can keep it simple, sexy.
There,
That sounds better.
let's just put them together and start a new thing, huh? I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's called stacking dubs right there.
Hype. Gotta hype yourself up sometimes.
Dude, sometimes like in the world today, like people are fast to praise, but people are also fast to condemn, right? And sometimes like you have to be you have to be your biggest cheerleader. Like the person you see in the mirror, like you have to be able to cheer that person on. And it's a lesson that I've learned over time. It's just like, man, if I don't have myself, like I don't have nothing. So I've worked really, really hard doing the deep work, doing the meditation, doing the journaling of like how I can have more confidence in myself and in my abilities to go execute on what I have to do, no matter what the crowd is saying.
Dude, I love that so much too, because that's something like that I've really had to work on as well. And I think come like us both coming from being introverts, like naturally we're very introverted people. So it's a much more difficult thing to do right at first. But it's like something that I always struggled with being an introvert in like being louder about the accomplishments that I have, being my own cheerleader. The problems that I've had with that is like, oh, I'm not being humble here. It's like I am like I'm getting rid of humility to let everybody know, hey, I did this. It's like, no, it's not being humble when the intent, or it's not, you're not being humble when the intent is correct. So when the
Mm-hmm.
intent is correct and you're doing these things to show people, hey, like I can do this, or so you can too. It's like one of my goals is to become freaking Mr. Olympia or IFBB pro in classic physique. It's like I want to do that so I can. It's not just for me. Obvious, it's a little bit for me. I want to do that too, but
It better be
it's
for you.
for no. Of course, you got to make it for you. But I'm doing that to show everyone else that anyone can do it. It's like I know that I don't have the best genetics. I know that I wasn't born like Jay Cutler, who was freaking put on 40 pounds in the gym in the first couple months he was in there. It's like I'm not like that, but I want to show people that you can freaking do it no matter what, as long as you have the right plan and can execute. And that's something I struggled with a long time, being able to show people like, hey, like making those posts on Instagram, like, hey, look what I just did. And when that intent is, hey, look what I just did, that's wrong. When it's, hey, look what I did, you can do it too. This is what I learned from this. That is where you really start providing that value to others. And I just wanted to share that because I struggled with that for a long time with like the reason that kept me back from being my own cheerleader was that right there. It's like, oh, I'm not being humble. It's like, no, you can be very humble. You have to know that you can always learn and always get better, but also know that you are really good at what you do. It's like you
Yeah,
have to earn that confidence.
dude, I absolutely love that. And it's crazy the people that I have in my life because it's like you. Sorry, Wrigley's going crazy over here. Waiting for
All
him to
good.
down a little bit.
No worries.
Um, so it's crazy the people that I have in my life because like you, my friend Kanani, who I'm out here with in Utah, like and other people around HQ and all my other friends, like we can have compliments off, but we never want to accept the compliments ourselves, right? Like it's crazy because like we are really good at giving compliments, but we are so bad at accepting it. Like I always feel like I have to give it back, right? Like I can
Mm-hmm.
never just accept a compliment, and I've actually gotten called out on an Instagram post recently that somebody literally typed like just accept the compliment, dude, and I'm just like, okay, you're right. like, but what's crazy is I know exactly for me in my personal life where that came from. So when I was growing up, I was always pretty good at sports. That's kind of what I do. And my mom and dad always said it's okay to brag to us, and that was the word they used, brag to us, but never brag to anybody else, right? So when I'm at the point of like showing off my accomplishments to drive value to show people that they can do it too, it's very, very awkward and difficult for me at times because I don't want to be showing off and bragging about what I just did. And it was done with great intentions. Like they didn't want me to be that self-absorbed athlete coming up like, look at me, I'm the best. That was the intention, but it subconsciously put in my mind to like never actually talk about my accomplishments and what I have achieved. And it's made it very difficult for me to come out and say like, hey, look at me, look at this is what I'm doing and you can do it too. And as a coach to be like, I can actually help you do this. So it's I've had to get over that hurdle of it's not bragging, it's still humility because I'm still like being humble in my accomplishments, which then can actually help somebody. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, with being humble in your accomplishments, like that's because I was kind of rambling a little bit earlier. Kind of was thinking about that when I was talking about
Mm-hmm.
with being humble in like knowing you always like have things to learn. You can always get better. So humble in your approach. And there's a saying for this, isn't there? You got to be humble in your approach and what the I
Oh,
can't
I don't
remember
know
the
this
second
saying.
part of it,
I don't know this
but
saying.
but basically the second part of it's like humble in your approach, but you have to be just overly confident, like bury that confidence on full when you're executing like in the moment. Like when I'm on stage bodybuilding, when you're in each race, you have to have that like just over the top confidence that I'm the fucking man, I'm gonna do this. But
Yeah.
in your approach, you gotta be real humble, like, hey, I don't know shit. I need to learn as much as I can up until the day of. But when it comes to performance time, that confidence needs to be fucking buried.
Yeah,
Like you gotta
and
be
for me in Spartan racing specifically, that comes out in obstacles, right? So when I first started out, like there were so many obstacles that I couldn't do. Well, then fire up YouTube University
yeah.
and start learning. So be humble in my approach, right? Like, so going out and actively seeking that advice, getting a coach, getting a mentor, YouTube University, learning the skills, learning how to run better from books and the people that have come before me and things like that. So humble in my approach. But when I get out on the course, I now know what I'm doing. So I step up to that obstacle, even if I'm dead tired, with the most confidence ever that I can do it. And this weekend was really, really great for that because yesterday or Saturday, I struggled, man. Like, I didn't fuel properly. That's on me. I didn't hydrate properly because I came out here and I was in the sun, I was having fun, things like that. Didn't prepare properly. And then I pretty much freaking died on the course. It was a mountain course. I got some blisters. They're really sexy. I was struggling the whole way, just about checked out of life. And by the end of it, I was just like, oh my God, all I can freaking figure out what to do is left foot, right foot. That's it. And then, but coming up to each and every obstacle, I knew I had the ability to do it because I've practiced them and I've simulated them in the gym. So, like what you were saying, is just like because I was able to take that step back and be humble in my approach by learning it in the gym and in the practice realm outside of the Spartan race. When I was in the Spartan race, came up to it dead tired, didn't want to be there anymore. I was still able to execute because I had that confidence.
Dude, I love it so much. That's
Mm-hmm.
because you actually prepared yourself for the hard times. Like that's something that I've seen Will Grumke talk about a million times. Like he actually, just because he recently posted about this, is fresh on my mind. He rolled his ankle when he was running, and this is something he always highlights. Like, hey, I didn't stop because this is things like this will happen on race day. There's going to be things that are going to push you on that race day, so you have to be able, like in your training, you have to put yourself through things like that. It's like I've seen you before. Like I've seen you training in that gym over there, and you are straight up killing yourself. Like there's days where I can tell you really don't want to be in there. And I know that may sound crazy for some people. Sully does not wanting to work out, but like I've seen some days where it's been real hard for him, and
There's
I
some test
know
days
you've
in
pushed
there.
yourself.
There's some
Mm-hmm.
test days.
Yeah. So you put yourself through that. You were humble in your approach and were able to, it's like, okay, I need to make sure that I'm able to this, this, and this. So I'm going to make sure I fail in training. Like that's something I've heard John Jones say all the time. He's an undefeated fighter for freaking 25 years now. But he's like, you have no idea how much I fail in training. It's like, I put myself through those failures. So when I'm performing in like when it matters, that I don't mess up because I've failed so many times at training.
Yeah, and my favorite thing, you got me thinking right away of Les Brown, one of the best motivational speakers, one of the OGs out there. And he talks about how, like, man, it's the days that you don't want to train. It's the days that you're in the gym and it hurts. And it's the days that, like, oh my God, I'd rather be anywhere other than this. And he's just like, I'm not having a bad day. I'm having a character building day. And that's like, that's how you have to look at it. It's just like, hey, man, we have days that we don't want to train. We have days that conditions aren't perfect. We have days to where like all the stress in the world is coming down on us. But if we're able to get our butts to the gym, which is always in our control, And if it's not the gym, it's able to go outside and run. It's able to find a hill. It's able to find a band to do a workout. That's the character building day. That's the test day. And when you get through that, that is what truly develops the next level human.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. And that's why you mentioned Les Brown. I've been getting into a lot of. Well, I've just found the motivational like speech compilations on YouTube. Been
Uh-huh.
throwing them in my headphones whenever I'm working out instead of music lately. Because actually, I've been in one of those spots a little bit the past few days at the gym where it's like I just didn't want to fucking go. Like I did not want to be there. But
Well, you're coming off of your show. Like you hit the
mm-hmm.
peak. You hit the peak. And when you hit the peak, man, it's tough to get that motivation back, right? But
Oh yeah,
that's why leaning in to Les Brown and the tactics and the motivation stuff and just getting yourself there and getting started, like then you don't need motivation because you're started, right? The
exactly.
motivation will come.
Exactly, dude. Whenever you get like when I get to the gym and have Les Brown freaking yelling in my ear, or whoever pops in on there, like I don't feel like that anymore. Like the rest of that workout is how it usually goes. I'm freaking loving it, getting a great pump, having a good time. Like that's the initial part of getting there is the hardest part. Most of the time, those workouts are some of the best workouts that I've had. Like today, this morning, like I did not want to get there. I was tired as hell when I woke up. Like and when I finally got my first set of pull-ups in, it's like I set some PRs on a couple exercises today. Like it felt really good. So, and it felt even better because I didn't want to go at first.
Mm-hmm.
And just throwing a freaking like motivational speech in your on in the car, or literally just listening to your favorite music that gets you hyped up. You can use those things to push you forward. But since we did mention that, that also should not be something you have to do all the time. There should be
It's a
only
tool.
like
It's a
a
tool in the
tool in the
toolkit.
toolbox.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I think
Exactly.
it's actually really important for us to talk about a little bit because 2 weeks ago, I completed the World Championship Ultra in Morzine, right? Morzine, France. Last week, I did my first ever CrossFit competition. 2 weeks ago, you completed your bodybuilding show, right? And or was that was last week? That was last week. Sorry, last week.
Oh, yeah, 1 week. Yeah.
1 week ago. Time flies when you're having fun, right? So
Mm-hmm.
this is really important because we had our peaks. Both of us did pretty much at the same time. And now we're kind of down into the valley, right? To where like we have to actually have hyper focus in order to still get our stuff done. And and I find that in order to get my focus back, I need a date on the calendar. And that's why I've filled up my calendar more and more so that like now I have to stay focused. I have no choice. I have to get back into the grindhouse because if I didn't, I might really make it a valley, like big time. But now I've kind of flattened out. And even though I don't feel the greatest right now, my body's hurting, I still have something on the calendar pulling me forward instead of just kind of looking around and like, what do I do next?
Yeah, I just did the exact same thing actually, just because like just competing fires me up to compete again as soon as possible, but I know I need to take a little break to get better. So I actually just recently decided on what show I want to shoot for next year. So
Oh
literally
yeah.
over a year from now, actually, but it's still I have that on my calendar. This is the show I'm going to do next year, so that I have that consistent motivation through reverse dieting, through bulking, through all of these times that I need, like these different phases that I have to go through before that. But that's awesome. I literally just did the same thing. It's like I have to set this date so that I continue with the same motivation and like momentum that we were talking about last week. Like we're talking about keeping that momentum going. Like it's much easier said than done. And this is a great way to keep that momentum going. Set another date, even if it's a long ways away. Like that's going to motivate you, especially when you have big goals. That's going to motivate you to keep going.
Yeah, and I know there's a couple of studies out there that have said that setting a date on the calendar, like 85% of the fun is actually the anticipation of that day coming. Like it's really cool to be there. It's really awesome. Like it's kind of an adrenaline dump when it finally gets there. But the anticipation, being able to talk about it with your coaches, your family, and your friends, and the excitement is building is like actually a majority of the fun. And that's why having a date on the calendar, because like I said, like you can, there's two types of motivation, something that pushes you and something that pulls you forward. And the date on the calendar is the thing that pulls you forward. Like you're going to it no matter what, right? There's no need to push you. I'm going. It's pulling me towards that date, and that time is going to pass either way. So you might as well use it to get better.
Oh yeah, dude, I freaking love it, man. Yeah, that's where the I think longer term goals, like I just said, is really good for pulling. Like, but I think the more short term, just thinking about it as you're talking through, it's like I'm definitely going to need to set up those short term goals as more of the push. It's like, hey, get to this goal within.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know if we've even mentioned it on here before, but 30, 60, 90. Like you set a goal for 30 days, for 60 days, and 90 days out.
Mm-hmm.
And these are kind of like these are the tasks that need to be completed. Yeah, benchmarks to get to that long-term goal.
Well, what's
just
really
thinking
cool,
about that.
What's really cool is like you can kind of, so you have your date, you can backtrack it and break it down onto however you want it, right? And then you can go work with your coach and be like, I'm going to be in this phase from this date to this date, right? So the mass building phase or the reverse diet phase is first, right? Then we're going to go into pure like mass building phase, right? Then eventually you're going to get back into your cut phase. So like you're going to be able to have that structure built in throughout the entire year just to get you ready for that stage, right?
Yes, sir.
And all it takes is a little bit of effort. I was talking earlier to a couple of people that like, hey, the difference between like high performers is that little effort, right? That's it. Like you don't have to change the world. All you have to do is change this little thing, and that's actually what could change the world.
Oh yeah, dude, absolutely. Just this small chat. So first thing you said with the chunks of like, hey, here's the reverse diet, here's the bulk.
Yep.
It's like when you set those plans, but also know like things may change a little bit. Like set those blocks of time we're going to do it, but it's like, and like as you were going through that, I was just thinking, hey, I have a plan. I'm going to do my bulk for 4 to 5 months, and then go into maintenance, and then go into my cut, and have these chunks of time. And it's like also thinking through that, it's like, hey, that might change a little bit along the way. So like keep your mind open to that. Make plans, but also know it's not going to go perfect. Like that's immediately what I've thought, because I've always make plans like this, and I've let myself not make as much progress as I could have because they didn't go how I wrote it out on the piece of paper.
In your execution instead of adjusting along the way.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, because it didn't go in order on my freaking sheet that I had my daily tasks, like each minute of my day. It's like, oh, I can't do it anymore. It's like, what? Like, that's ridiculous. Like you can do everything still. It just doesn't have to be in the same order. That's like saying you have a little bite of a cheeseburger. It's like, oh, I can just eat whatever the one I the rest of the day because I had that bite.
I'm already off my plan. I might as well go have everything else along the sun, right? Under the sun. And actually, the Air Force actually taught us this in BMT. So BMT is basic military training, right? And one of the first classes that we had, because you have military training, like march training and all that stuff, and PT, physical training. But then you also have classroom work. And a lot of people don't realize that in basic military training, you actually have classroom work as well. And one of the first things the instructor said that semper gumbi. Semper gumbi me is Latin for always flexible, right? So you have a plan, but you have to remain flexible in that plan in order to adjust with whatever life throws at you. And that's perfect because I know you have a coach, and you are going to do like weekly check-ins, monthly check-ins, to where like, oh, we have a plan, but due to these check-ins, we actually might change something here and there in order to get the best results possible. And so you are flexible within the guidelines of those plans to execute to the best of your ability over that long period of time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah, we're going to do those weekly check-ins. That's going to stay consistent. It's for the rest of the time. Like that's not something that I'm just going to do during cuts. Like that's during every single phase, because you have to adjust like according to your own progress. But like what you just said with assessing each week, it's like it doesn't have to be with progress pictures, like with my fitness journey, for like things you do in life, like improving your daily habits. Do what I call, I've heard think we stole this from the military. I'm pretty sure the after action review,
Oh,
correct?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So after you're done with your week, this is what I do with this. Basically, every single week on Sunday, and it's not the same day every week, but I kind of look back at the week. Okay, what did I do well? Like what went well this whole week? What could I improve on? Or what didn't go well? And then what could I improve on? So it's like, hey, good, bad. What do I need to do moving forward next week? And that from that, you can make the proper adjustments to get you to your goal. And you constantly want to be assessing how things go. You constantly want to make small adjustments to help you
Those
get to.
micro adjustments. They're not massive adjustments. They're just like how the space shuttle in space, when it's docking to the International Space Station, it's just thruster here, thruster there to get you to where you want to go.
Exactly. Yeah, that's your plan is like the guide rails. There's going to be a little bit, you're going to be moving back and forth a little bit in between. But yeah, I wanted to share that a lot because I actually just recently like made a full new schedule for myself, like writing down, hey, this is what I'm going to do at this time, this time, this time, this time
I
for
love
every
that.
single day. Yeah. And like something I ran into all the other times that I've done it is it's like I was just saying, I would have one thing that I don't do at the exact time I have on there,
Mm.
and that it wouldn't bleed into the others, meaning like taking too much time. I should be like, oh, I'm gonna do it my own way now. Like
Yeah.
instead of going off of my list and making sure every detail gets done, it's like, oh, I'll just go hard. It's like, no, that's clearly this list has helped you get better in the past. Use the list. So yeah, be willing to change a little bit so you get everything on that list done. It doesn't have to be in the same exact order.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Always
Don't
flexible.
overthink.
Just knock it out. Semper
Yeah.
Gumby, baby. Semper Gumby.
And freaking take action. Don't overthink. That was my problem there.
I tell people all the time, I'm like, y'all are just thinking too much. Sometimes me and you got to think a little bit more because we got to get on the same page time zone wise.
Yes.
But so many people like, oh, I've always wanted to do this. And I tell them, book the ticket. Like, I've always wanted to go there. Book the ticket. I've always wanted to do this. Cool. Do it. Like take action towards it, or like at least ask them like, okay, cool. Like you say that you've always wanted to do this. Have you ever looked into it? Like that's the first step. Have you ever Googled the damn thing and figure out how to make it possible? Because once you figure out how to make it possible, then you can start building out these 30s, these 60s, these 90s, these check-in times that we were just talking about. And that's like so important. In order to get the goal, you have to first be able to break it down into small micro goals.
Oh, absolutely, man. Yeah, dude, the 30, 60, 90 has helped me so much within like just my career here as well. Like if for your actual personal life, because it's like most of the goals that I hope for most of you that your goals are going to take a long time to get there, because big goals take a long time. You're going to have to put in time and effort, consistency over a long period of time. That's what it takes to get there. Reps and sets over a long period of time.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah, I was like, I had to use your terminology. I almost forgot. But yeah, so it's going to take a long, long time either way. Those 30, 60, 90 goals helps pull you or keep pushing you towards those goals. That's why I added that when he's saying pull those long-term goals, like the good pulls. The short-term are the good pushes because it's like, okay, why am I doing this? Because like you have such a big goal, it's easy to lose sight of that. But those short-term goals, that can fire you up to keep going. It's like, hey, I just completed this goal. 30 more days, you're going to complete another one. 30 more days, you got another one. And that is a lot better on like the motivation side of keeping you going than just waiting. Like in my terms for my show, me waiting until next December, not this December, next December for that win. That would be maddening. I would go crazy. Like I'm gonna pick a couple different goals to knock out before that.
I love it, man. I love it, and it I know we weren't gonna go to goal setting in this podcast, but it flowed naturally with what we were kind of talking about. So, and because we both got to our mountaintops, right, our peaks, like naturally there's gonna be like a little bit of a letdown, right, a little bit of a lull, and resetting and getting going again with something on the calendar that could be further out, and then building out those micro goals it's really important for people to realize that everybody struggles. Everybody struggles. Like when you feel like you're on top of the world, which I did because I felt like I literally was in Morzine, France, looking down at these valleys and these beautiful places. Like coming back to St. Louis and like coming back to the United States, it's like, whoa, culture shock. What's going on? That reset is so important and needed, right? Just take a few moments to figure out what you want and then plan it out and then execute on the plan and be flexible in that plan, but execute on the plan that you lay out.
Absolutely. I think you summed it up absolutely perfectly. It's like take action, create a plan, then be flexible with that and take action. Is that simple?
And here's how I lay it out. I guess I'll put it out there. So I always ask like 6 questions, right? Who am I? Who do I want to be? How do I fill the gaps? Where am I? Where do I want to be? How do I fill the gaps, right? Once I get the answers to those questions, that's kind of like brain dump, like just let it go. And then I pick my goal. So like, let's just say like, we'll go with the goal of Morzine, France Ultra, right? Ultra running in Morzine, France, the Alps. Cool. I have my goal. Awesome. Now I'm going to create a plan. Or now before I create a plan, I actually look and be like, okay, what are my morals and ethics, and what am I going to have be my guiding light to continuously work towards this goal of going to Morzine, France, right? So that becomes, I know I've talked about Uncle Roger and the mayonnaise and the mustard, the guardrails, right? Now, is it legal, ethical, moral? Like, what I'm doing, is it in these guardrails? Cool. Now I have my core values, I have my guidance, I have my ethics. Now I create my plan. I work like hell on that plan for 90 days, right? We break it down into 30, 60, 90. I do that exact same thing. Then I look at the results. What happened? Review, adjust, reset, and then execute again, right? Because like if you don't review and adjust, like what are you doing, man? And that's why those 30, 60, 90 benchmarks are in there, is so that we can review and adjust every 30, 60, 90, and then we get back after it. We take a nice little deep breath with the reset, and we go back after it. That's how I do it. And it's different for everybody. It's going to look different for you. It looks different for me. It's going to look different for the person watching this video.
Oh, absolutely. It's going to look different for every single person. But I'm going to steal one thing from you because I love that you added this to the very beginning. And it's always something like that is filtering through my head at certain points. But like having that at the very forefront, your morals and ethical before you even think about anything going into it. It's like, hey, does this keep me in my guardrails? It's like, that's your first priority when thinking of that goal. I freaking love that, man. I know I personally do not like keep that in mind when I'm setting the goal. But I think that's also like, I think it's very important to help like be that push or pull that we were just talking about to get you to your goal. Like having like, that's basically setting up your why at first. Like, why am I doing this? Does this align? Okay, why do I really want to do this? Okay, perfect. And then you can pull that back out when you have those times where you're doubting yourself, where you're struggling. It's like, okay, let's pull that why back out. Why did I even start this?
Yeah, man. And for me, it's come over time because I want that, right? The reason I have it in front is because I want to stay true to myself. I'm not doing it for John 6. I'm not doing it for Andy. I'm not doing it for Sal. I'm not doing it for my dad. I'm not doing it for mom. When I set these goals, this is a personal journey for me. And if this goal is not staying true to my morals, my ethics, my core values, then I shouldn't be doing it. And that's why I put them in front, because I have to stay true to myself and who I believe I am in order to execute on this. If it doesn't align with me and who I want to be and what I want to do, then like I shouldn't be doing this and I should find something new.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I've struggled with some of the goals I've set in the past. I've struggled with that because I didn't set that alignment. But I've also with like the big overarching goals that I have, a lot of those just easily align with with what I'm doing already. But I've definitely gotten on the wrong path a little bit within the past couple of years where like if I would have set that why and like my core values to that, like make sure that they align with that specific goal. It could have definitely saved me a lot in the past. And it's honestly something that I see other people struggle with a lot too. So I'm really glad that you shared that, because it's like people need to realize like you're not doing any of this. Like we talked about doing this for other people. It's like, yes, we want to be selfless and help change others' lives. But at the end of the day, it all comes around to doing it for you. It's like, what do you personally want to do? What makes you feel the best? Like, a
Gotta fill your
lot.
cup first, baby. Gotta fill your cup first.
Yes, exactly. Fill your own cup first and you can fill others a lot easier. But it's like it's all going to go back to like the end of the day, like when we're on our deathbeds, like we're generally alone, generally by yourself. So it's like do the things for you. Like know that you like when you're on your deathbed, hey, I freaking went hard. I went for everything that I wanted. If you think back like, hey, it's like I did all those things for everyone else because they told me this, because they told me what I should be doing. It's like I never made the decision for myself. It's gonna weigh on you. So start making those decisions for you first, and then align that with like, hey, how can I help other people with what I'm doing?
Love it, love it. That's a great way to end this pod. I would say like that's a great way to wrap it up. And I'm really really happy that you said that, because it's just like fill your cup first so you can fill others. Put your oxygen mask on, then you can help everybody else put their oxygen mask on, right? And have it align with what you believe your core values are, and then execute from there. So I think that's a great way to end it. We had some
Oh yeah.
fun stuff, some fun discussion. We're going to figure out the
Mm-hmm.
time zones. We figured that.
Yes. You'll be back tomorrow, so
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. For 2 weeks. For 2 weeks.
oh,
So
let's
that's
go.
2 weeks we'll be in person. So, John, I want to leave you with this. Appreciate you, my man. Everybody watching this video, I appreciate all of you. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share. If you found anything of value, make sure you drop it in the comments. That way we can talk to you a little bit.
Absolutely. I appreciate you, Sully.
My man, let's stack some dubs, huh?
Let's do it.
Yeah.